Welcome back to Switched to Linux. So this is the tutorial where we are going to walk through the settings panel on Linux Mint 18, the Cinnamon edition. And we're going to walk through all our settings, and I'm going to show you how we can just get this briefly configured. The next tutorial on the list, we will be looking at the software, adding, removing software, and configuring the Cinnamon menu. So a lot of the things we want to do are going to be in here. Also, in full disclosure, I've switched to doing this part of the tutorial here to the Linux computer that I have running rather than the Windows 10 computer, because the computer is just, it's a much slower computer. It's just giving me a lot of problems, and I think it's getting a bad hard disk on top of all of that. So anyway, just wanted to be full disclosure. This is going in the Windows tutorial section, but it is actually being recorded on Linux Mint. So what we're going to do here, the first thing I'm going to do when I first set up a Linux Mint computer is I'm going to get the what on Windows would be called the taskbar, what on Linux Mint here is called the panel. I'm going to get this kind of set up exactly as I like it. Now this here is actually our VirtualBox menu, so kind of ignore that. It doesn't exist. All right. But our panel here, the first thing I want to do is I want to get a nice adjustment going so that I can throw my mouse to the bottom right-hand corner of the screen and show the desktop, because I work off the desktop a lot. My desktops are a mess, particularly when business is going good. And when I run out of room is about the time I clean up my desktop. Now, my real desks don't always look like that, but my computer ones do. So we're going to right-click the panel and we're going to hit Edit. And this guy here, well, toggle the switch, I should say. This will change the panel into this red, green, and blue. And this means that we can actually drag around all these. These are actually called applets. And this applet over here is the Show the Desktop applet. And I'm actually going to drag this way over here, because that will now enable me to come down here, click, and show my desktop. Now, we can also remove applets. So I never use this tiling window thing, so anything I don't use is wasted space. So right click, hit remove this applet. Same thing with the user's applet right over here. Right click, and I'm going to remove it. Now you can actually right click anywhere on the panel and you can add applets to the panel. This is one of the settings inside the settings panel that we're going to look at here, but this will actually allow you to put anything on here that you would like. So you can see that there are just all sorts of things. The green dot over here indicates it already is on the panel. So if there's anything else on here that you'd really like, here's a recent documents button. There's a scale. Oh, there's a separator if I want to separate anything. Let's go ahead and hit add the panel on that. Let's see where that separator shows up. Okay, so there it is. I'm actually going to put the separator over here, put it in between the menu and my little quick launch bar, and that way I get a little bit of a separation there. Wonder if I can do two of those. Yeah, I can put another one over there. So I'm going to put another separator between my quick launch bar and that, just to, you know, kind of neaten things up a little bit there. So I can do all that. So you can hunt through all these. You can add these guys to the panel, play with them a little bit, see what they do. If you use Workspaces a lot, you can do that. And if there are specific things that you'd kind of like to see that you don't have, check online, hitting the second tab, available online. So there's 220 applets that are available online. I have no idea what these are. I've never been through this list, but we're going to have a quick look. Okay, there's a weather applet, configurable menus, places, desktop capture, so I'm guessing take a picture. So it looks like there's just all sorts of really neat stuff that you can throw on your panel if you want to. CPU temperature indicator. Actually, that's pretty cool. I'm gonna do that because I actually do a lot of video editing with my stuff, and let me see if it does. All right. So what that did is that installed it, so it'll be over on my system. Let's see, system in order with graphs. So you can just hunt around here, see what there is. The world clock up there looked pretty neat. Go back to installed applets, and so this gives me a warning. So let's see what this says. System calls that could cause your desktop to slow down or freeze in some hardware. So be wary that some of these things are not pre-installed, may mess with the system a little bit. In a VirtualBox, a good thing you can do is take a snapshot, try playing with it, and if it breaks something, just restore the snapshot. I'll show you how to do a snapshot in another video on tips and tricks. All right, so that's essentially about the applets. We'll walk through the rest of the system, the menu there. So I'm going to right-click. I'm going to turn this panel mode off, and now we have a nice panel with our cinnamon menu over here. We have our effectively what we'd call our quick launch bar, separated with two little separators, and then we have over here our clock. We can have a bunch of stuff up on the desktop here, and I'll throw a bunch of stuff up on the desktop. And then what we'll do is I'll show you that you can just come down here and you can toggle the desktop on or off. All right. So here's what that looks like there. So I did leave the items over here that I do like to see, the power indicator, the volume, and the connected to wireless. Of course, if this were a desktop computer, I'd take the power indicator off because it's plugged in. Shocking, the computer's on. All right, so the next thing we're going to do here on this video is we're going to walk through all the various settings and what they can do. So the settings panel you can get to over here. And in this part here, we'll pretty much make the computer our own. We've already looked briefly at the backgrounds. You can just kind of select from over here what the backgrounds happen to be. Actually, I kind of like all the backgrounds. They're all pretty neat. I'm going to stick with this one though. Now, if you do like the landscape type backgrounds, click on here on the Sarah list. Linux Mint just comes with some beautiful backgrounds. So you can just have a look at what's out there. Although fewer, and I kind of liked the ones in Linux Mint 17 a little better actually, but they're pretty cool. The effects just allow you to toggle on various effects. These in a VirtualBox may not show up quite as well, but some animations. You can change your system fonts around. So over here you can just kind of click on these, and if I'll just kind of select stuff, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to like the italicized version of all these, bold italicized version of all these guys, just so you can see what the system eventually will look like when we get them all in there. So there we are. Okay, so now you can see that we have these nice fonts here and the bold italics there. Under the themes, this is where you can really make some nice changes. I really like this Mint Y Dark. You can actually pick from the light or the dark versions. They actually also have some versions which will allow you to kind of do some split stuff. So here, this is kind of like an old, more classic style. Here's a high contrast style. So you can kind of pick from a lot of different things. You can download more of these on the internet. I'm going to go with this dark theme here. That looks pretty nice. And under the icons, you can pick your folder colors here. I'm going to go with gray. I've actually been playing around with this long enough to come up with a really nice color scheme. So there are we have our basic light model for Linux Mint Y. And then we have a darker, which actually gives us a hybridized light and dark model. And then there's the Linux Mint Dark, which gives us this nice dark view. And I really like this dark view of the gray folders, the italicized. I think it's a nice silver metallic coloration. The font the mouse packs that they have pre-installed are a little bit to be desired. But we'll just stick with the white one. I think it goes best with the system. And then you can also pick some desktop settings as well. So you can see that you can just kind of pick some different colorations, so you can easily line things up. The Linux Y dark here is kind of takes like a more modern trend. In fact, it even has the same underline like the Windows 10 model does. So if you do like the look of the Windows 10, you can do a similar setting like that. I actually don't like this modern new flat UI that's been coming around. I just don't like it. I think it's a little bit too boring for me. So what I actually like to use is just sticking on the Linux Mint with the nice gradiented colors. I like these gradiented colors. I might be old school, but I really think that that's really when computing became the most beautiful, is when we have pretty colors, not flat stuff all over. All right. We can also add and remove some desktop themes here. So you can go to the available themes online here. That's 430 themes. I'm going to cancel that. I'm not going to sit here through those. Maybe we'll do a whole new video looking at themes. Under your settings here, you can show icons in the menus or not. We can show icons on buttons. And then there's use a dark theme variant in certain applications. So this would be that darker theme. It would basically toggle to that if an application would look better with that different theme. As far as the preferences are concerned, you do have your accessibility, giving you the screen readers, large text font readers, and desktop zoom. You have your keyboard options, typing assistance, and mouse accessibility options. Under your account details, you can come over here and pick your images. I think I'll pick that snowflake because it just kind of caught my eye there. See if there's anything else that looks pretty cool. The only other one I like is this lightning bolt right here. So I'll pick that. And then you can change your name and change your password here. To change your password, you have to give it your current password, of course, and then confirm your password change. Now, applets, this is that screen where we were adding the applets to the menu earlier. The date and time settings, here is where you can let the network time pick our time, or we can pick it manually. You can set to use the 24-hour clock or the more traditional 12-hour clock. We can display the date down here. I think that takes too much space, so I'm going to turn that off. Or we can display seconds or turn it off. Now, under your desklets are kind of like the widgets that were on Windows Vista and Windows 7. So these will actually allow you to add the various widgets to your desktop, and then you can configure these guys here. There's a configure button on these, so you can pick your colorations. Let me just experiment with some different colors here. So that's a nice little color. The only thing I wish I could do here is I wish I could give it a little bit more, like a little bit more padding around there. But there I have a nice little green clock I can put up in the corner of my desktop up there. The other desklet that some people might find useful is this launcher. So the launcher allows you to kind of create like a pseudo dock. So you could actually create a little pile of stuff over here. You could actually put them anywhere you want. And you have to create a separate launcher for each one of the buttons you'd like to add. And if you don't want the initial setting one it gives you, well, I loaded up the same system settings we were just on. You can right click it. You can edit the launcher. So here it gives you the name here. If you just type in a program that is on the computer, it knows what the program is and it'll change it. To add another one, just hit Add New Launcher. And then it's going to give you the same thing. So we'll do Thunderbird. You can see it'll give me the icon there. It'll throw the new ones over here, and then so you just drag them where you want them. You can literally put them anywhere you want. So these are a nice way you could create a little pseudo dock. There are ways to put a dock on the system. You can get some applets available online. So if you do want like a weather app, you could download this one. So there's a lot of these different items. And then over here we have, oh, there you go. There's how to get rid of some of the padding. I like that. Like I said, I haven't played with all of these guys. There's just so much in here that's pretty cool. Actually, I want to go with no decoration. I want to move my clock over here. I think that looks pretty sweet. Yeah, that looks pretty nice there. And then over here, I can maybe throw these guys over this way. Actually, you know what I might do? I'm going to throw these over here. Just going to kind of experiment with this for a little bit, see how this works. Because now if I'm just kind of over here doing stuff and I need to get to something, I can quickly come down here and open something up, which is pretty cool. So there's a little bit about the how the desklets work. Now your desktop button here, this is where you can control the icons on your desktop. So I can add the trash can, I can add the network feature over here. So you can drag and drop these guys wherever you'd like those to be. So your extensions, these are functions that will enable you to do some really neat functions with your desktop. They may not all be compatible with all of the versions of the desktop we have. So, and then some of these might give you a warning. So the extensions are something you might definitely want to try out in a VirtualBox first. So I'm not going to even try and install any of these. What I will probably do is save myself a copy of the desktop after I'm done with it, and then I'll come back in and do some of the setups here. Under the general here, we have some options: disable compositing full screen windows, enable timer for logging in, logging out. So it's if you hit the log out button, it'll do a timer and it'll log the main user back in the way I have my current system set up. So there's just some settings over here. Hot corners, some people like these. Hot corners absolutely drive me crazy because it's just like my mouse just gets to corners too quickly at times. There is a show desktop here, but I found it not be very predictable, and it doesn't give you the same show desktop icon as the bottom one does. But if you do happen to like these, then you can use your hot corners. Input method allows you to pick the various types of inputs. I'm not going to click on this one because it gives me a big dialog box and goes through it. Of course, languages, you select your languages. Notifications, you can disable all the notifications. You can set the various settings. I think we've already seen this. I think one of the early setup screens when we were installing this allows us to interact with the notifications. But if you make some adjustments and you want to see what they look like, maybe I'll increase my opacity a little bit just for the fun of it. You can hit the display a test notification and it'll just give you a little test notification up here. When that goes away, you will get a little notification key down here at the bottom. So you can click on that and see the notification again. The panel, this will actually just allow you to adjust the panel settings again. So you can auto hide the panel. You can actually add another panel if you want to have another panel up at the top, another one at the top, one at the bottom. You can do that. Preferred applications, if there are different types of files on here that you like to control where they open. Some things like Writer and Web, and Mail, there's really only one application installed for now. But if you add another one, you can come in here and select your default. Under your music, you'll see that you can pick VLC, videos, or Banshee. I'd prefer Banshee under your music, and I generally prefer videos for my video. You can set what happens when you put in a CD, a DVD, a USB thumb drive. You can set the various options for those. Under your privacy, this is if you want to have the system not remember what you're doing. You can never forget old files. You can remember accessed files. Lots of screensavers to pick from. There are just so many different things you can do on your screensavers, and just clicking on all these and you'll be able to see what it looks like. So you can go through and pick your favorite screensaver. You can do your settings, you can do your date over here, so you can display the date on the screensaver if you'd like. You your startup applications is useful. You can actually add and remove various startup notifications as startup applications as well on my main Linux computer. So this guy here that we're doing this video on, this is a Dell Inspiron. It's like a 7000 or 700 series, I forget. It's a touchscreen model, and there seems to be a problem with this model at large, that the touchscreens occasionally go crazy. And I've thought, is this a Linux thing or is it whatever? But I've seen people running Linux and running Windows reporting the same thing, and then found a forum post like, oh, solved. Dell replaced the screen. That wasn't, for me, a viable option, but a touchscreen on a laptop that's not like a yoga type laptop is for me, it's a little lame. You never really find yourself using it. So actually I wrote a script that allows me to disable the touchscreen on startup, and I've never had problems since then. And then what I do is I actually went down here and I added it in the startup program, and basically when the computer runs, it runs that script so the touchscreen never gets started, so it never goes crazy on me. You can remove these. If you do not like your Linux Mint to be checking for latest updates, you can come over here and turn off your Mint update. I'm not going to do that. I am going to turn off the Mint welcome and the support for NVIDIA Prime because I don't need the welcome screen, and the support for NVIDIA Prime I won't use. So, in fact, I could actually, why don't I just remove that one? Over here under the Windows, this will actually allow you to control things. If you're coming from a Mac environment and you find yourself constantly over here like, I thought my buttons were going to be over there, you can actually move those over there if you prefer those being that way. So here's your minimum, maximize, and your close buttons over here. And then over on this side, you can actually put a menu button. So here you can just kind of click over here. There's no icon for it, at least on the dark theme, but you can just kind of know that there's a menu button over there. You can also set, let's see, you can set sticky or shade. Now I'm kind of indifferent on it because I'm so operating system agnostic. But since we are though working with developing a system that's similar to a Windows platform, we are going to keep it like this. You can also select, if you double click it, it'll maximize. Action on the middle click will lower it, so you can see what the various options are there. Action on the right bar gives me the menu now, and action with the mouse wheel gives me nothing. All right, so under behaviors, you can do a Windows focus mode. So either you can, like a mouse hover over to make it active, or you can do, I'm not sure what sloppy does exactly, but whatever. I'm going to do click because I'm going to be so used to that. If I did something else, it'd probably drive me mad. Automatically raise focus windows. Okay. Let's see what that looks like. I might need more windows on, but we'll go ahead and keep that. Okay, so there's a lot of different settings you can do over here. Here's your Alt-Tab functions. So you can do icons only, thumbnails only, icons and thumbnails. I'm going to actually open up a few things and see what happens when I do that. Alt-Tab. Okay, so that looks pretty cool. I like how that looks. Okay, so there's the Windows settings. Windows tiling. This is a neat feature here. Let me just open up a few more windows again. So this is something, Windows started to do this in, I want to say it was Windows Vista or Windows 7. And it actually drove me crazy over there because it's just, if I just throw a window over here, then I kind of want it to do that usually. And it would just like, oh, you want to snap that. And it snaps into place. It's like, no, I just wanted it out of my way. In fact, now it's more in my way. But with Linux here, it's actually, since there's a little bit of a delay, I can kind of choose what I want it to do. And so I can kind of snap things into a couple different options. So we have this quarter snapping option like this. We have the half, nope, I meant to do a quarter snapping like this. We can do the top snapping option like this. We can do a whole side option like this. And of course I can double click for maximize. So there's a lot of cool things, and this will allow you to toggle how the snapping options go. The slow snap on screen display is exactly what I like. That's what actually allowed this to be usable for me. I don't like it how fast it is on the Windows system. Maybe that's editable, but it just got in my way so many times I hated it. So I always disabled it in my Windows computers. Workspaces, this will determine your workspace flow. Linux Mint does have workspaces. Holding the Control, Alt, and the left and right keys will go between the different workspaces you can see. And you can set how many workspaces you have. I forget where that is off the top of my head, but it's around somewhere. Underneath here, we have the hardware settings. So you can click on any of these guys here. Your system info here tells you about the system. And you know, you can have your sound. If you need a printer hooked up, you can do that. Your driver manager, firewall, login window, software sources, users and groups. So that, in a really brief nutshell, is the system settings. And as we played with the system settings, we've pretty much made the computer our own. So there's pretty much only one video. We're going to do more on the Windows setup, and that's going to be to tackle the configuration of the programs and the Cinnamon menu. And in the process of doing that, what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to hide items, uninstall items, and install new programs. So this has been Tom, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.